If you don't know much about Linux and even less about servers, then this is the step-by-step guide for you. I have my media shared on my home network, but my NAS drive was reaching its limit and I could either replace it with another NAS or build a server, which I knew absolutely nothing about, so of course I chose the latter. But after a bit of research, it didn't seem too difficult, and what really caught my eye was Jellyfin, which looks like a really slick and intuitive way to share your media across your home network. I wanted to build a relatively compact server, but I also wanted it to be able to fit lots of hard drives in. I was working with a fairly limited space, and I managed to find a micro ATX case at a pretty good price. The CIT Work Compact Office PC case, which had a height and depth of just 36 centimeters, but could also fit in between 4 to 6 hard drives if needed. Although to achieve that, I would have to forego the standard AMD CPU cooler and replace it with the Noctua NH-L9A AM4 chromax.black, because the height of the standard CPU cooler prevents the use of the hard drive bays in this case. I already had a Ryzen 3600 CPU to hand, and the other parts I used include the ASUS Prime B550MA Wi-Fi 2 motherboard, a Crucial P310 1TB SSD, 32GB of Corsair RAM, which is possibly overkill for my server needs, the Sparkle Elf Intel Arc A380 6GB graphics card, which really helps Jellyfin fly through transcoding. I'm using this front panel for external drive access, which connects to the internal USB 3 header on the motherboard. To power all of this, I decided on the Corsair CX750 low noise ATX power supply. And to keep things low noise, I'm using these silent Arctic fans. If you're interested in a similar build for your server, you can find links to these components in the description. Create a flash drive with the Debian 13 installer. Just head over to the Debian website and download the ISO file and use Balena Etcher to create your installer. Select the ISO file you just downloaded, select your flash drive location, and then start the process. Before installing Debian, there are a few BIOS settings that you may need to adjust to stop certain errors and help a smooth installation process. The first would be to plug in a keyboard. The way the BIOS looks will vary from one motherboard to another, as well as the different features it might have, but the key aspects to check are to make sure that the system is going to boot from the flash drive you've just created. So in the boot priority section, make sure your flash drive is first. The other feature you may need to disable is the TPM, or Trusted Platform Module, which Debian doesn't need, and I found would freeze the installation process like it has here. Now, you may not come across this error if you have an older motherboard which doesn't have the TPM module, so if you come across this issue, just head back into the BIOS and you'll probably find the TPM settings in the advanced section. So just go ahead and disable it, save your settings and restart the PC. So the next issue you might come across is when trying to do a graphical install where it just hangs at this screen. I suspect this happens if you have a graphics card installed, and I've found the problem goes away if I choose the second install option. So at this stage, just go ahead and choose your language, location and keyboard settings. I've sped up the progress for this video, so don't worry if your installation doesn't look as fast, but the entire install took about 10 minutes. Make sure the PC is connected to the network, and if it's connected correctly, the network configuration should automatically set up. Once that's done, just give your PC a host name. I've called mine server, and use the domain name of your network. I didn't set a root account password and just gave my initial user the root privileges I would need. Go ahead and enter a name for the user and then choose a username. You can see I chose Tanv. Set a password, and the next step will be to set up the drive you plan to install Debian to. This process will wipe whatever's on the hard drive and create a fresh install. I had a previous installation which I'm going to wipe, and so here I chose the second option. Make sure you select the correct drive. Here you can see both the boot drive I plan to use as well as the flash drive where the installer is. I chose to put all my files in one partition. Once you've done that, just click finish and then yes, and Debian will start installing. Once the files are installed, select a server location that Debian can look for updates, which would typically be your own country. If you don't know what a proxy is, you're probably not using one, so just leave it blank and hit continue to let Debian update. I just chose no for the popularity contest. In the software selection page, I did select to install the Debian desktop environment because I'm pretty new to all this, and I also installed the SSH server, which lets you log in to the server from a different computer. Once the installation is finished, hit enter to continue, and when the PC reboots, remove your installer flash drive from the computer. Your PC should then boot into Debian. After a clean install, I'm going to get rid of some of the shortcuts that I don't use and add the terminal and settings shortcuts to keep them easily accessible. Firstly, I'm going to adjust some of the settings for this server. This motherboard has Wi-Fi, which I won't be using, but we need to make a note of the automatically assigned IP address of this server, which you can see here is 192.168.11.222. Your server really should have a static IP address. After that's done, if you turn your connection off and back on, the new address should be set. Here it's 192.168.11.15. I'm going to disable the power button so the server can't be accidentally turned off, as well as disabling the power saving features because I want the server always available. So far, all we've built is a Linux computer, but now we're going to turn this thing into a server by setting up file sharing with permissions so that only certain users can edit files while others can read files. And we'll install and mount a hard drive where our media files will be saved and shared from. We'll also set up the Jellyfin server that's available on the home network. I'm going to use terminal from the server itself, so let's open a window. First, we're going to update the system by typing in sudo apt update. Once the update's complete, we're going to begin by installing the SAMBA service, which will enable us to share files across the network. To install the service, type in sudo apt install SAMBA and hit enter. Just hit yes and wait for the install to complete. One thing to be aware of with Jellyfin is that it can't access folders in your home directory. So we're going to create a folder in the root directory through which Jellyfin can access files which are actually shared on a separate hard drive. Type in cd space ... twice and you should be in the root directory. ls shows you the contents of that directory. Let's create a folder which we're going to share on the network. Sudo mkdir shared, and you can see the folder has been created. Let's make sure I can add and delete files from that folder by typing the following two lines. Let's go into that folder and create a file so that we can later check that a specific user can add and remove files to that folder while others can only view the contents. Let's go back to the root directory. Next, we're going to share this folder by adjusting the settings in SAMBA. To do this, we have to edit the SAMBA configuration file by typing sudo nano /etc/samba/smb.conf. Check that workgroup is set to your home network name. Mine's is MS Home. Next, we're going to scroll down to the shares section. Here you can see Homes is a shared directory, but we're going to comment out all the associated settings. Underneath that, we're going to add settings to share the folder we created earlier. Let's give it a network name and add the following settings. Since the folder was created in the root directory, the path should be /shared. Set browsable to yes so that other devices on the network can see the shared folder. I want this folder to be viewable by other devices, but I don't want anyone else to add or delete files, so I'm going to make it read-only. I still want to add and delete files, so I'm going to add myself to the right list. Save the changes by pressing Ctrl O and hit enter, and then Ctrl and X to exit. Next, I'm going to add my username as a SAMBA user by typing sudo smb passwd space -a space tanv, and then enter a password and confirm it. Next, check that the SAMBA service is up and running by typing the following. You can see that the service is active, but we need to restart the service to enable the settings we've added. Press Ctrl C and then type the following to restart the service. Let's connect to the server and see if we can access the shared folder. I'm using the fixed IP address I set before. I'll connect as a guest user to see if I can modify the contents of that shared folder. And you can see here that a guest can't add or delete files from this folder. Next, I'll connect using the SAMBA user details I set up previously. And I can now add and remove files. Inside the shared directory, I'm going to create a folder called videos. Next, I'm going to mount a hard drive which contains my media, and this videos folder will point to that drive. If you've installed a new drive, it should show up in the sidebar. Right click and select format. Give the drive a name and select the ext4 format. Then click next and format the drive. The new drive should appear in the sidebar. Click on it and it will auto mount. Right click properties, then open in disks. Make a note of the device path, which here is dev/sda, and copy the UUID, which we'll need next. Head back to terminal, and we're going to mount that drive to the videos folder we created earlier, which is in shared. Type sudo mount/dev/sda /shared/videos. Then go to the home folder, go into shared, and then into videos. The hard drive has been mounted to the videos folder as we wanted, but will be lost as soon as you restart the computer. To automatically remount in the same way, we need to edit the file system table. Type in sudo nano/etc/fstab. Here you can see the UUIDs of the other partitions which mount when the server boots. At the bottom, we're going to add the UUID of the videos drive, which we copied earlier. Add a comment to identify the drive, and then UUID equals, and paste the UUID value copied earlier. Type the path of the folder we're linking to, then type ext4 space default space 1 space 0. Ctrl O to save the file, and Ctrl X to exit. Let's reboot the server and check that the drive mounts to the videos folder. After confirming that the videos folder is available on the network, we can start the process of installing and setting up Jellyfin. Back in terminal on the server, we're going to update the system, and we're going to install a tool called curl, which will help us install the Jellyin server. And then to install Jellyfin, type the following command. Once it's installed, Jellyfin will start up. It will give you the IP address and port number where you can access it from a remote web browser. On the start page, give the Jellyin Server a name and then add a user. I'm going to start by adding movies. So I'll select the movie category and then add the movie folder. For my server, I need to go to the root directory and then shared, videos, and then movies, and click OK. Next, you can set your language and country preferences, as well as a multitude of other settings. I'm going to allow remote access and click Finish. And now when I log in, my movies should be available. To adjust the Jellyfin server settings, just click the menu button in the top left corner. Over on your other device, where you've installed the Jellyfin client app, you'll be asked to enter the server details. Make sure to include the port number or you'll get an error like this. When that's done, just log in and you should be able to access all your media. If you found this step-by-step guide helpful, like the video and subscribe for further guides in the future. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below.